It's the Bad-Ass Banshee Energy Show.
Hi, welcome. It's the Bad-Ass Banshee Energy Show. I'm Hollis.
I'm Elara.
And we're fantasy authors who love all the nerdy whatevers. And we're having a really cool episode today.
We are having a cool episode today. But first, let's talk about useless trivia.
And then you're going to know what our episode's about.
Okay, maybe I'll go first then, since my useless trivia has absolutely nothing to do with anything.
Oh, okay.
That's how useless it is. Okay. Have you ever realized in traveling that most Canadian airports begin with a Y?
No.
They begin with a Y. And I know why now. It actually stands for yes, of all things, which is not even like close to anything in my mind that it might have stood for. It stands for yes because before, like globally, they changed to the 3 alphabet airport codes. Canadians used Y as the first thing in their code if you had a weather tower at the airport. So it meant, yes, there's a weather tower, which of course is extremely important in Canada. So
oh, that's interesting.
That's why the Y.
That's why the Y.
That's why the
why the yes.
Why the yes.
That's actually very interesting. I had no idea.
No, me either. I had to look it up.
Wow. Very cool.
Very cool.
Mine is going to lead us into our topic for today.
Nice.
So, do you know which woman of folklore is also a Catholic saint?
Do tell.
It's Saint Bridget, or Brigid, who is the goddess coming of spring, all of that. And guess what? It's March, and it's St. Patty's Day. And
International Women's Day just passed this month as well.
That's right, March 8th. And it's International Women's
Oh, a month. We have a day and a month.
Month. It's our month. It's
Okay.
our month.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So
Good time.
we're celebrating.
So that's why I chose Bridget, because I was like, this is kind of her time.
Right.
And she's also, it's fun. It's fun.
So we're very excited on today's topic, which is powerful women in mythology.
Ooh.
And what we did is we kind of looked at some different regions and found there are so many commonalities.
There are.
Between, different mythologies and religious backgrounds that sprouted up over time.
Different places in the world just have all the same ideas about who does what, and we kind of do everything as per real life anyway.
Yeah, we really do.
We really do.
So tell me about the regions that you're going to talk about today.
So I kind of went into, when you first think of mythology, most Americans think of like Greco-Roman Mediterranean world. So I thought about that, but then I was like, we all know about that. So I also went into Asia, which India is a part of that, and a little bit into Africa as well. So I was sort of in that side of the world.
Nice.
It's just touching on things. Like, we agreed for the sake of time that we were just going to like take little pieces of salt from each thing, just a little seasoning, because
little salt, pepper, cayenne.
Little turmeric in there, just a little sparkle.
Cumin,
yeah.
Nice.
It was
Curry.
that. So it's a microcosm of what's actually out there. But these are some of our favorites that we wanted to talk about.
So what I decided to do was to look into mythology from the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
So looking into the indigenous populations of Canada, the United States, and Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to say that in different tribes and indigenous tribes, some of the gods and goddesses are very different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's talking a bit broadly, or I will name the specific tribe that I'm getting this information from. I also wanted to mention that when we talk about mythology and religion, some of these are still being practiced, so we don't want to call anybody's religion mythology, so take that sort of term loosely, in that this is really an honor and like our total passion for learning about different cultures and their religions. So
absolutely, we mean no disrespect, and please excuse if if we mispronounce as well. We're trying our best, and
and if we get something wrong, like let us know. Drop us a
Yes.
comment. Like we're here to learn.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there
we
you
will
go.
we will be happy if you correct us on something or enlighten us about something we just didn't know. We love to learn. Please let us know. So yes, if you'd like to share something about your personal faith, we want to know about it. We'd love to learn about it. So thank you, and we hope you really enjoy it because we're so excited to share it with you. All right, so obviously, the first mythological female we have to talk about, because it is the namesake of the podcast, Banshees. Obviously. Also, we love to scream.
Yes.
For ice cream, mostly. Anyway, yeah, that was my shame last night. Anyway.
Here we go.
So we're going to talk about the Banshees. And I think that a lot of people have a misconception about Banshees in that they think they're evil.
Very true.
And not really. Also, they are coming from Irish or Celtic mythology originally, as far as we know, or at least as far as my reading has taught me. And they are more harbingers of death, but they're not killing anyone.
Yeah, they're like, hey, watch out.
Yeah, they are letting you know that somebody you love is about to die, but they're not the cause of that death. They're just sort of they're a sad messenger.
They're like, we have the worst job ever.
It's a terrible job.
Everyone takes everything out on us.
They do, and it's a horrible and it's very, and they can be very scary because they often present as, if you actually see a banshee, most people just hear them. And I have a book where they actually had firsthand accounts.
Ooh.
And I forgot to bring my book.
Of course.
I did. I forgot it.
Just pretend it's here.
Pretend it's here. And actually, I brought it for, I think it was episode 2. It was talking with the cats.
Right.
And it was the same book with the werewolf lady on the cover. That has banshees in it. And it had firsthand accounts of people who had, mostly in Ireland. And they will hear the wailing, and then usually within 2 or 3 days, I think it's a 3-day time period.
Oh, nice.
If you
It's
hear the
very
banshee,
specific.
if you
Okay.
hear the banshee cry, someone will die. And you don't always hear about the death. For example, if you have a relative that's away at war, this happens a lot during World War I, that sort of thing. People would claim to hear the banshee. They'd get the telegram weeks later, but they would see that the date of death was within 3 days of hearing that banshee.
Gotcha.
And if you actually see a banshee, they have like what you think of when you see an old hag.
Logo.
Yep. Oh, or that. Or that.
That was so fun to design. We looked at so many banshee images to come up with that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's usually an old hag kind of thing. So they have usually long, kind of wild hair, usually because they're old. They're presenting as an old woman that's white or gray. They're very drawn, because they've been crying and screaming about the death of whomever. And they're usually not well dressed, but, usually in the rags and stuff. And if you see them, it's extremely frightening. People have accounts of crossing paths with banshees, and it scares the crap out of them, but nothing bad actually happens. The banshees don't attack you. In the legends I read that people feared it, but no one ever actually got attacked.
Gotcha.
Which is cool.
Interesting.
So that, with the wailing banshee, leads us into some other wailing chicks.
La Llorona is gonna come get you for even referring to her as a wailing chick.
I'm in trouble.
So yes, of course we're gonna talk about La Llorona. And La Llorona is from Mexico, and she has several backstories. They're usually a jilted woman. And interestingly enough, because the name is Spanish and not like indigenous to Mexican, she is usually an indigenous person who was jilted by like a conquistador. And some of the legend even goes back to this specific woman. There was an indigenous woman given to Cortez.
That's
which
interesting.
yes, which essentially
Oh, so
kind of
17th
vilified
century,
her,
yeah.
but nah, I'm sure she had zero choice in this
Yeah,
magic.
she probably didn't even want to be with
yeah,
him.
so this union
Mhm.
is thought to be where the legends come from. So there are many different like origins to La Llorona. But essentially she would be an indigenous person who was jilted by Spaniard. And sometimes the Spaniard leaves her. Sometimes the Spaniard like cheats on her. Sometimes, you know what I mean? So he like,
Yeah, doesn't she usually have children?
well, yes, I was getting to
sorry.
that.
Skipping
So in one of the tales
ahead.
is that to get back at the person like cheating on her or doing her wrong, she drowns their children.
Mhm.
In others, the children die naturally and she has a broken heart. So whichever La Llorona you want to take, essentially she's a wailing woman because she's wailing for the death of her children.
Yeah, she's lamenting all of that
Right,
horribleness.
right.
Yeah,
So
and the
it's-
death of her relationship.
Exactly. So essentially it's just always a woman who is done wrong by a man, and then the children die in some fashion and they always drown. So La Llorona is generally seen around like lakes and rivers and bodies of water. She also, I forgot what I was going to say. Let me think about it.
I'm just watching this.
There
cat
I go again. I
situation
know, my
happen.
cat is just like
Well,
detracting me.
cinnamon
Oh,
and-
yes, I was going to say, it's very interesting because banshees are associated with bogs, which would be water.
Ah, that makes perfect sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so here's La
Oh.
Llorona, and I wonder if certain like wind and noises around bodies of waters and wave might create some sort of wailing.
I bet they, well, because you know how you have reeds, especially
Right.
at bogs,
Right.
and when the wind whistles through,
Yeah.
certain, it does actually, it sounds like a cry.
Right.
Ooh.
Right.
And
That would
you
be
have certain
really
animals,
interesting.
animals that can sound that way too.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So who knows? We may have just unlocked an entire secret of the universe.
Like we do every episode.
Always, like you learn just so much, whether it's true or not. I cannot
Oh wait,
confirm.
Secrets of the Universe.
Secrets
Is that a
of the
band-
Universe.
Is that a band name?
Secrets of the Universe.
That might be a band
Absolutely.
name.
If not an episode as well. Nice.
Yes.
Okay. I also wanted to like give a shout out to the hungry woman because the hungry woman in Mexico, she's crying out for food, and in crying out for food, she has like these little mouths all over her. And so the image of like this woman, like this hungry woman with like mouths all over her, just kind of like is just such an amazing image that I think
Oh
I
my
need to
God.
put in my book.
And you definitely
right
cry
away.
and wail when you're hungry.
Yes, you do. You do.
That's how hungry she is. She has developed more mouths
Right.
to consume anything that shows
Right,
up.
right.
And wow, that's actually very sad when you think about it.
It is.
Yeah.
There's all wailing women.
Yeah,
Very
they are.
sad.
Well, and La Llorona, I just would like to say, if you've heard of the legend of the woman in white, which I believe is an American legend. I believe that like U.S., the States, America has come up with this, and it stems from La Llorona is the woman in white will stop you on the side of the road like as a ghost. She's always in a white dress. She's always sad. And if she'll stop men, and then if she judges you as a quote unquote good man, who wouldn't cheat on you essentially, then she just leaves your car and you're cool. Everything's fine. But if you don't, then suddenly you're going to find yourself crashing into a body of water and drowning.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the variations of the legend. But I think it's really cool that what is essentially an urban legend / ghost story is also stemming from folklore
Right.
and mythology,
And
which
mythology and whatnot.
may, because of Cortez and all that, have stemmed from actual events.
Right.
Maybe. We don't know.
Yeah.
So, now that we've talked about how women wail about stuff, because, well, very justifiably so,
Justifiably so.
death and hunger, it's important to notice these things.
Right.
We are going to talk about something else that women are extraordinarily famous for, even today, which is creating life.
Creating life.
Creating life. It's kind of our deal.
We've
And-
got the power. We've got the power.
That's
Okay.
what we do. And because we are the people who birth the children, women in mythology are usually the ones who created the entire world.
Right.
Shocker.
Yep.
Now,
Give
again,
us credit.
Give us credit. This is just a little peppering, a pinch, if you will.
Right.
Sticking with the seasoning.
Yes.
Of world creators in mythology. The first one I would love to talk about is Yamaya from Africa. I believe from more the Yoruba, Nigeria area, what we would now call Nigeria, I believe.
It's a pretty big continent.
It's a really big continent, but I believe this is where.
Okay.
It's a coastal region, and roughly speaking, and I know that other cultures around also worshipped her, but Yamaya is said to have given birth to the entire world, and I thought it was a really cool segue because it was actually through the process of giving birth, like her water broke and the oceans and the rivers and all the water was created, and then the babies came out with all the other stuff. We're not going to get too graphic here, and that was continents and land and plants and all of that, and Yamaya gave birth to the entire world, and she's a very powerful goddess, and she's also the mother of Oya, who is also an extremely powerful goddess and protector of women, but we'll get more into Oya a little bit further down when we talk about some other people or another like infertility and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I know you've got some very cool creators.
The love of my life is the Spider Woman, who I'll say specifically in Navajo mythology and belief, the Spider Woman creates the world through weaving. She's a spider and she's tiny and she helps people, and so she's been known in some tribes she brings fire to humans and gives us fire, and then in others she brings the whole sun down for humans to enjoy. So she essentially weaves different things that aids humans in doing that. And then there are some sort of splinter legends that she'll come all meek and meager, almost Beauty and the Beast style, obviously decades or millennia before Beauty and the Beast, where she presents herself to an elder or a chief and they don't see her value. And then she's like, well, yeah, here's fire.
Yeah.
So, just as a weaver, somebody who literally weaves the things that we need was hit my heart, and she's amazing.
That's amazing.
Well respected.
And just fun fact, Elara has her own loom, you guys.
I do. I have multiple looms, but I have a nice big floor loom that's really gorgeous.
It's really cool. I'm just gonna, because I think it's super cool, and I'm proud of you for that, because you make beautiful things.
Thank you.
I wanted to say.
I'll weave you some fire.
Oh,
I wish.
I miss you so warm.
Oh, can I say something else? Okay, so cool in weaving. So in different tribes, indigenous tribes will have different symbols and colors.
Oh,
similar to Scottish plants.
And then,
well, you often see crosses or X's. That is the Spider Woman.
That's cool.
So she is, and it's one of the first weavings that children learn is the cross of the Spider Woman. So this is
super
cool. Super cool.
And I've seen that, and
yes,
when I've
now you know.
Now I know. And now I know. I didn't know that was a Spider Woman,
yeah,
but it's so
Spider
common.
Woman. Yep.
That is the coolest thing.
Yep.
That is awesome.
Right.
So, women create things. Did you know that there is a creator goddess that represents the entire country of Japan?
Nice.
The sun. So, and I'm going to look at this name so
and that
I
went
don't
right back to the Spider Woman brings the sun.
The sun.
I think we all just intrinsically knew, even back in the day before science was a huge issue or thing, not issue.
Mm-hmm.
The sun gives us life, and we humans have always known that.
We've always known that, and they just and it's amazing how similar all of these peoples who would have had no contact whatsoever came up with such parallels.
Right.
So the names are different, but the legends are so freaking similar, even though we know that they never had contact.
Right.
But the one from Japan, who is the sun goddess, she is always called the magnificent goddess of the sun.
Get it
All
right.
the stuff that I was reading, and she was magnificent.
You
first.
already have La Llorona after you now. You have.
I have, yeah. Now but she doesn't get.
Amaterasu?
Yeah, Amaterasu.
Okay.
Amaterasu. And I might be
Amaterasu.
saying it. Yeah, Amaterasu
Okay.
is, and again, if I'm saying it incorrectly, please forgive. And also, maybe if you want to give me correct pronunciation in the comments, I would appreciate that. She is to be considered the divine empress that rules over everything, the universe, the whole universe. She created everything. She is the root of all. And she's so important in Japanese culture to this day that the royal family of Japan claims to be directly descended from Amaterasu. And Amaterasu.
No. It won't be the last time.
It will not be the last. I am apologies. Amaterasu, I have to look at it to say it correctly. I'm not used to saying it. And they claim to be directly descended from her, which is what gives them the divine right to rule Japan.
Interesting.
Because in ancient times, people would have been like, psh, you're not even related to a divine being. And then they wouldn't have it in. They'd be like, bitches, we come from like the ruler of the universe. And they're like, oh, okay, I guess you can be in charge. But I thought she was super cool. And yeah, those are the three creators we chose.
Okay, so another obvious commonality that you find in mythology and goddesses is fertility. And what I love is fertility are generally the most revered goddesses. They're always very, very important to multiple different cultures. And I really love because they're so powerful because they're creating life, not destroying it. We often think, and especially in media depictions, we always see these female warrior races, which yes, it's important, and yes, it's important to see women in these roles, but fertility and the creating of life as opposed to destruction, I think, is really beautiful, and so many cultures have found that more important than destruction. So
I will agree with that. And I also would like to say that pretty much everybody has a crossover between being powerful, like as a woman in terms of giving life and being fertile, but also in being a protector. So even though we're keeping with certain categories just for organizational sake, most of these women are also warriors in their own right, or powerful in a physical way as well. Right. Because they got to protect those babies.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, which I think is really important. But fertility in itself is a powerful, powerful thing, because if you don't have fertility, you don't have people.
Right.
And we don't exist.
So what you got?
Well, so
let's get Isis out of the way, shall we?
Let's get Isis out of the way. We're going to mention Isis. Everybody knows about Isis. She is, Egyptian is what most people think of. They don't realize that the Romans, the Greeks, the Mediterranean world worshipped Isis. And we're going to mention her. You already know who she is. If you don't, you can find millions of things online or in books about Isis. She's a creator, she's a protector, and she is, goddess of fertility. You would pray to her if you want that stuff. But go find lots of temples to Isis. There's many you can visit on tour. And, but moving on, let's go back to Central America.
Oh, okay. So, Xochitl is Aztec, and a lot of people know of this goddess, and goddess of fertility from Aztec culture. I stumbled upon the strangest fact about this is that annually Aztecs would confess their sins, and they would confess them, of course, to Xochitl. And how they would do this is they would pick a blade of grass for every sin they committed that year, and then cut a hole through their tongue and pull each blade of grass through the hole in their tongue.
Pleasant.
So, like, their offerings to absolve their sins to Xochitl is this bloody
is blood. They're paying the price with their own
Yes,
blood, but
yes.
it's the hole in their tongue.
Yes. And I mean, it's kind of, it's penitence. It's, you are suffering.
And it's something you're definitely going to live through, but it's going to hurt.
Right.
And be super weird.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was related to lying at all. Because that would have been
great,
a sin.
like lying with the tongue.
Yeah. I bet, I don't know. This is my brain coming up with stuff on the fly. But I bet it was. Because, the tongue.
Yeah.
Very feisty.
Right.
Liar a lot of the time. Not ours, but they're super honest. Except for when we're writing fantasy and making everything up.
Or are we? Dun dun dun.
You don't know.
Okay.
Well,
so
another goddess of fertility is Oya, who is the daughter of Yamaya, which we just talked about a few minutes ago. And Oya she is also a protector. She is known as fertility. She is more in the water side of things, and she has her brother, I'm going to look at my notes. That's what I'm going to do. She has her twin brother, Shango. And he's got his own counterpart with the land. But she's also known as the protector of all women. In the sense that she can always ask. If you're a woman and you have problems and you need protection, to use a modern day example, you're being sued and it's not your fault and you're innocent, right?
JG, what were they? Someone cash now? Or wait, what was it?
That's a car thing.
That's the car thing.
That's a car thing. That's car titles. Sorry.
No.
There are some law offices that do things. I can't even. I'm thinking
Gary Martin and Hayes.
Gary Martin and Hayes and Associates.
And trust me, we are not being paid to drive.
No, we are not. We're just trying to think of lawyers.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a John Foy in our area
Yeah.
or something too? I don't know. Whatever he does.
Take a jingle.
But
Gosh,
you could if you're being unjustly sued or something, you're innocent. You can pray to Oya to protect you from that, and she will protect you from the liars. She will protect you, just basically make you, have you come out on top of that dispute. It doesn't even have to be that kind of example, but you're having an argument, something like that. So Oya is really cool that way.
I have a feeling that there may be listeners that are going ahead and praying right now.
Yeah, I mean, you should.
I
might go ahead and throw a few out there next time I need some help.
Right.
Because I would love for everything to go my way.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Sounds great. And honestly, it's really nice. And she's not a violent goddess. Neither Yamaya or Oya are violent. They're protective. They're strong and they're protective, but they're more in the we're just gonna stand here and say no to you and be strong about it. But they're not gonna take out a sword and chop your head off like some other goddesses.
Gotcha.
So I really like that. So, now that we've been talking about, non-violent protection and
Hippie peace,
strength,
love, birth,
all of that, let's talk about some violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's cool. Whatevs.
Yeah, it's cool. It's no big deal. So, warriors. As we mentioned, most of the women we've already talked about are also warriors, but these are kind of the ones that we want to talk about because they all kick ass.
Nice.
And they can all just, row with the best of them. Right. So, first of all, I'm going to go to a very familiar one that you've definitely heard of before, which is Artemis. From the Greco-Roman, she was pretty widely worshipped throughout the Mediterranean, maybe still is. Goddess of the wilds, she's also fertility, she's also childbirth, she's all those things as well, but she is best known as a protector and a warrior, and she mostly protects nature. Quick little thing about Artemis that I find a little tale, yes, if you will. As we know, Greek mythology is very special and can be a bit odd and perhaps violent.
They're jerks. She's trying to say Greek gods are jerks.
They can be jerks. They can be jerks, and they can be unnecessarily vengeful and violent.
We should have had Medusa as our guest.
Oh
today.
my God, Medusa would have been.
She would have. Maybe she wasn't available.
maybe she will. You know, she's very popular these days.
She is.
She really is. But I'm so glad she's finally getting the positive attention she deserves.
Yes.
So Artemis was bathing in the woods, as she does, because she is goddess of the woods. She often has associated with deer, you know, stags and all of that, that kind of thing. And she was bathing in a river or something, and there was a hunter in the woods who wasn't looking for her. They were just out hunting with their pack of dogs. It was a male. This is in ancient Greece. And he accidentally came upon her, and he saw her naked.
Shame. And
he didn't mean to, but she got super uber pissed about that and immediately cursed him, turned him into a stag, and then his own hunting dogs hunted him down and ate him.
It's justified.
That's Artemis. Do not mess with her. She does some good things too. She's a strong protector as well, but she is definitely a fierce warrior, and she is the, like, do not fuck around. You will find out. Bitch. Which most of them are. And then we also have someone else that I am not sure how to pronounce.
Cihuacatl.
Cihuacatl
is Aztec, as you probably, that Otto will give you a hint to that. Cihuacatl is the vampire goddess. I'll just let that sink in. The vampire goddess.
We're talking about folklore.
So this is amazing. So she is often, Aztecs, they compared childbirth to war. And a woman who died during childbirth, which, you know, happened often, were seen as warriors, and they were given, like, warrior.
That seems very
like, deaths
appropriate.
And whatnot. And then they actually believe that these female warriors who died, that the ghosts actually come back and fight for the kingdom, and they're protectors as well. So it's really, like,
that's so cool.
right. So, like, she has other things going on, but like, I kind of love that whole, like, that the honor of a woman who died in childbirth, and just how, so she's not necessarily a warrior, but it's
not in the most traditional
not
thoughts,
in the traditional
but
sense.
she's still a warrior. She still fought for life. She lost.
Yeah.
But yeah.
For the good of the people.
For the good of the people.
Right.
That's honestly, that's one of the coolest things I've ever heard in folklore. I really enjoy
also
that.
Vampires.
Also vampires,
that's
which
pretty cool.
everybody is always
so basically
fascinated.
Like, that's the whole thing, is that, you know, it's death and rebirth. Life, death, rebirth. But okay, woo.
And we're fighting for it.
Hence the vampire. The rebirth. Yes.
And you're an immortal because you come back as a ghost, as a spirit, to help fight alongside your fellows.
Right.
Nice. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Another one I do want to touch on is Morrigan, who is a Celtic goddess in Irish, you know, Celtic Irish. And she's really cool. Morrigan is definitely violent. She's definitely a warrior. She is kind of the patron goddess of war veterans.
Oh.
So, believe it or not, you know, like,
nice.
And that was before we had, you know, like, modern day warfare. That was ancient times. So if you were a veteran, Morrigan would be your patron goddess. She also was in sovereignty. So you know, like, the royal families,
right?
People who had sovereignty
back to that,
to own the land and defenders.
I wonder who came up with that.
I don't know. Someone.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, but she can shapeshift, which is really cool. She's a shapeshifter. She's often depicted with different colored hair, very often with red hair, but like purple or whatever. Because she can do green. She's been depicted with green. Do whatever she wants. There is a book that I want to quickly mention. It's called The Hounds of Morrigan by Pat O'Shea. It's a novel. It's great. It deals a lot with Irish folklore. Morrigan, of course, is a character in this book, and it's called The Hounds of Morrigan because in the folklore, I'm not going to spoil the book for you. You should read it. It was really good. But in the folklore, she has a pack of hounds that when she is like, I am far too busy answering all these war veteran prayers and everything to deal with this nonsense over here. Hounds, go get them.
All right.
But a little interesting thing I found about the hounds is if you are not running, they cannot catch you. You have to be perceived as prey. So the hounds will follow you, but unless you run, they will not attack.
Nice.
They have to be
it's kind of like predator rules.
It's predator rules. They have to be triggered or
right.
That you have to give them a reason to attack you, which I thought was quite honorable, honestly. It's an honorable thing. So
I mean, that's exactly predator. That's amazing.
It is.
Right.
It is. So Morgan,
which of course predator comes from all different types of mythologies and folklores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Morgan's tough, and she will definitely get you.
She'll fuck you up,
but she will absolutely do it, and she will do it without remorse.
Gotcha.
However, she does follow the rules, and she is very honorable at the same time, and so are her hounds.
Okay.
Which I thought was super cool.
Honorable
hounds.
Band name, Honorable
Hounds. That's a really good one.
That is a really good one.
Let's
make a band. Let's make a band just so we can be the Honorable Hounds.
We'll have a song called Morgan.
It's done.
It's done.
Somebody's going to be looking back at this moment and just like, is this like, we're going to be like a world famous band, the Honorable Hounds, and somebody's going to pull up this archival footage.
We're going to need a lot
when
of
that magic moment happened.
With the musical talent part of that.
I've got some musical.
You've got some.
I could totally jam on the oboe, just saying.
Okay, I did play flute for a while.
Nice. Oh, so we got a good winds section going on.
And
Jethro Tull's got nothing on us.
No, he doesn't. And you know what? I have also been told that I am not completely tone deaf.
Oh, not completely tone deaf.
I don't want to brag, but I am not completely tone deaf.
Okay, so this episode's recommendations are actually both women authors. And we didn't even plan that. We just did. They're awesome.
Because we're very, very smart. And it's pretty great. So
did you just say we're very, very smart?
Yeah.
Okay. I will accept that.
I might just be stating a fact.
Yeah.
I don't. I just it's part of my speech pattern. I just randomly state facts sometimes. Anyway,
nice.
We're very smart to choose women authors, and it was independent. We were just both like, let me think of a recommendation, and then we were like,
thought of awesome things.
Right. We both decided to recommend a book, and we both chose a female author.
Right.
Go team.
The mind meld.
Go team.
Go team.
My recommendation.
Oh, left me hanging.
Okay,
One more time.
Go team.
I feel like we need to like Shiva it a little bit so that they can get on screen. Okay. Yes, I just said Shiva.
Yep. After talking about some Indian mythology. What? So my recommendation is a book I haven't read yet, but it's been on my TBR list for a long time. And I really want to read it. And it has a mythological...
So you're recommending it to yourself. You're legit recommending.
I have it purchased. I just haven't gotten to read it yet, and I want to read it. It was going around the Bookstagram like crazy a couple years ago. Everyone was reading it, and I still haven't gotten around to doing it. But I'm writing books, you guys, and I'm trying to read other books and write reviews, and I'm trying to be very good at things. But that is the book Circe by Madeline Miller, and it takes I've read the blurb. It's extremely.
And what did you like most about the blurb?
I liked both.
Blurb book club.
That it takes.
Yes.
Oh my god.
We just need a whole blurb book. That's hard to say.
Blurb Book Club is also another good
band name.
It's really.
I think we just should have it as an actual legit book club.
I think we should.
So I'm gonna start
you know how
that.
Many members we would have?
I would pick a blurb.
You know how many members
We're doing this.
Blurb Book Club from the Bad-Ass Banshee Energy Show. We're just applauded ourselves.
Nice. We'll work on that.
We will.
Okay. So tell us
Going
about the
strong.
blurb.
Strong. So
that you recommend the blurb.
What I like about what goes on with this is it does take place in ancient Greece, but it talks to it from not from an academic perspective or anything like that, but it takes the relationships, because we all know the Greek gods and goddesses, they're all interrelated, they're brothers and sisters, they're married to each other, like all these things, they're all related to each other, it all intertwines. And so we have Circe, and Circe is often kind of left out. She's sort of a demigoddess, she's often referred to as a nymph and all these things, and she is sort of an odd one out. And I love that the author, that Madeline Miller, took her and made her a main character of the story amongst Helios and all these other gods, and their crap is going on around her, and she is pushing through. And again, this is what I got from the blurb, but she's pushing through, and she is creating her own story and being a hero within everything, and in which case ultimately she doesn't really get credit for.
Right. Which
honestly is the plight of women a lot of the time.
And what's interesting is that I didn't mention like La Bruja, but La Bruja, Circe, a lot of these goddesses, mythology, folklore, La Bruja literally means witch. There's so much of that calls like witches and witch, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just sort of the, like the Circe was considered. And it's just really interesting, like how vilified women are now kind of turning the corner a bit, and that, and I love the fact that we're just owning the witch label anyway.
Yeah,
so.
We are.
Yeah. My recommendation, I have also not read.
Oh, you have also. This is another one for the Blurb Book Club.
It's not exactly true. So what I'm recommending are the books in the Grishaverse by Lee Bardullo. And I've read the Crows series. So if you've seen the Netflix show, which is very good, they have taken her she's got 2 sets of books from the Grishaverse, which is Shadow and Bone. And Shadow and Bone is sort of like a traditional fantasy where you've got sort of the heroine who has to save the world type thing.
Right.
But then she also has the Crows, the Six of Crows series, which is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. And then she's recently come out with sort of an aftermath of her books, but, talking about these 2. The Six of Crows is my high recommendation that I have read because it is heist in a fantasy setting.
Oh.
So they do these big heists, and there's 6 of them with just completely different personalities, one of which is spoiler alert, 2 of them are Grecias. And so they have, like, from the first 3 books, they have sort of these magical powers. Yeah. So I love it because I do love heists, and just adding that magical element to heists is not something that you often see. No, and if you watch the TV show or have watched the TV show, they combine both of these into the same plot. So the TV show is quite different from the books.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which I like it when they do that in books and movies, because then you still get surprises.
It's an unpopular opinion, but yeah, I do, because it's like I've already read the book, so like
why would I watch the film or television series?
Yeah.
I actually I actually appreciate it, except when it's done well.
Yeah.
Let me put that in there. When it's done well.
Yeah.
When it's done poorly, we all hate it.
Right. Like, I just, like, this is just really derailing, but I actually liked Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I did too.
A lot of readers of the books are kind of like, well, that is different, that's different, and you're going to compare. Obviously, you're expecting one thing, you get another. But I actually liked, because so much of the earlier changes they made in the show were still true to the characters and true to what would have happened. Now, it's when they started really turning that. And there were some characters, like Jamie is like, he's the redemption character. And then all of a sudden in the TV show, they have him doing something just heinous. And it's just like, no, he was the redemption character. What are you doing? Like, he would not have done that.
See,
so that's where I start getting a little like, you got to stay true to the character, guys.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually the perfect caveat right there, is that if you are going to change things, you still have to stay true to the characters themselves.
Very much.
Because then the people who read the book are gonna get pissed off at you.
Right.
And they're gonna be like, Jamie would never do that.
Right.
Not the Jamie I know.
Yeah.
Or
I also, like Faramir, like
Oh,
we're
yeah.
really going off from like
We're like
women in
this,
mythology,
like,
and I might have to
Lord.
cut this whole part, but like when we're talking about,
and
actually,
we're talking about men
let's
too.
do an episode on book to movie,
book to
page
film.
to screen.
Page to screen.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our podcast on powerful women in mythology.
On Happy Women's Month.
And join us next month. We're going to come to you live from JordanCon.
Which we are both guests and panelists at JordanCon.
Yep.
It's April 19th through 21st at the Crown Plaza, Ravinia. I have been saying that wrong a lot.
So, like, all the people you said that to are now going to be trapped in some fictional place looking for us.
I feel like they might find, because,
Maybe it'll be
JordanCon
a better
website
world.
is going to help a lot with that.
Yes.
Especially if you go register, you're going to get directions. It's going to be great.
Yep.
And also I did say Crown Plaza in Atlanta, so I feel like there's a Japanese garden at this hotel, which is
fun.
beautiful. No, walking paths and everything. This place is huge.
So
it's
we
very
know where
pretty.
we're going to start shooting first. Yes. Nice. So come meet us. We'll have our books out to sign for you, and I hope you can join some of our panels.
I hope so too. Yes, we're gonna be. We're in the what's the name of the panel that we're both in?
Cozy Fantasy?
Cozying up to the unknown.
Yes.
And I think
And
that's
Cozy Fantasies.
Yes, and fantasy books, and I think that is Saturday. We both have our schedules posted.
We do.
On our social media.
Yes, so
that
check
we
the
don't have to
Instagram
remember.
pages, and yes.
Yes. Check our Instagram. I have mine pinned, so it's the first post when you go to my page, and you can. The whole schedule is there. Elara was kind enough to make the graphics. Thank you.
Yep, of course.
Yeah.
See you there.
Thank you. Amaterasu.
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 I
I think.